Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. We're live for another masterclass setting. Today, we're going to be making a road battle map in just 15 minutes or less. So there seems to be a misconception that making a decent battle map takes a decent amount of time. And, that's not necessarily true. Certainly, more time that can go into a map can make it better, but that doesn't necessarily mean that to make a decent map, you have to spend a lot of time. You can make a decent battle map in a short period of time with the tips and tricks that we're going to be showing you in today's video. Hey, everyone. Welcome. Hey, Pedro and Andrew. Glad that you are here. So we're pretty much going to be replicating this map right here. Not exactly to the T. We'll probably change things a little bit to make it more interesting. But this map took about 15 minutes, probably a little less than that. And I'll show you on how I was able to accomplish that. First, we're going to create a new map. We'll let this open up. I'm going to choose Fantasy Battle Maps. And what's nice is you can title it right away. So we're going to call it Forest Road. There we go. And now when it comes to editing resolution, that just depends on the power, how powerful your machine is. If you have a low-end machine, you might want to maybe edit in 2 or 3K. If you have a higher-end machine, Ultra 4K is a good place to start. Let's talk about aspect ratios. I find the best aspect ratio for a lot of battle maps is either landscape or portrait because they conform to A1 printable paper. So that is usually the best aspect ratio, at least for printing. If you're just doing VTT like online, then really any aspect ratio should be fine from what I understand. I guess that really depends on the VTT that you're using. But we should also talk about scale because you're probably not going to make the entire Feywild or the entire Underworld or whatever with just 15 minutes, right? So we should need to keep our expectations realistic. So the standard for landscape is 40 by 30. That's still quite a lot of space because that's a lot of tiles. So what we'll do is we'll cut that in half. And what we'll do is we'll choose 20 by 15. And this means that we're working with a much smaller space. And that means it's more realistic about the scale, what we're going to accomplish in that 15-minute time period. So 20 by 15, which is basically landscape. It's just that it's a smaller number of squares. We'll let that open up. And what we're going to do is we're going to first start with prepping the canvas for when we start putting things together. And what I always start with is turning the grid on first, so that this way I can kind of see things. So when I place a stamp down or whatever, I'll have this grid to kind of help me out. What I'll do is I'll put it all the way up at layer +5 so that way I can see things underneath of it. I want to be able to see the grid when I'm putting things together. And I'll also just turn off the shadow blur and the intensity of that just so that I have that off. And so what we'll do now is we're going to go ahead and start prepping a couple things. And the first thing that we'll prep is going to be the shape tool, and it's going to be the grassy areas. So if we go to that shape tool right here, and then we're going to go over to the add, make sure it's set to add. We'll make sure it's set to merge as well. We're going to change our stroke over to a texture path. We're going to open this up, and we're going to go into that top search bar and type in grass. So this is going to be our stroke. Some of you might not even know there was a grass line here, but that grass line is going to be very helpful. Now, what's super cool about the FG and the BG layers is that the FG layer currently already has a grass texture set to it. So if I now choose fill with that shape and then fill a clipping mask, and if I go snap to grid like this, and I go to place down like this, you'll notice that I've already got the grass and I've already got the grass line. So we don't have to do a whole lot of prep work with the shape tool. Right? That's already set up. So that's perfect. So that's kind of step one. And of course, whenever you create something like a shape right here, make sure that you favorite it right away. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete my favorites over here. Go over here. I'm going to go click that, make sure that's selected. And then I'm going to choose favorite. So that way it's available to me when I go to select it. Some other things that I might want to consider is some stamps, right? Now, I should probably think about where the road is. It's in a forest. So what's the best choice? I should probably start looking for things in the catalog. Now, the reason why I recommend that you start looking for your stamps before you start placing them is because something you'll notice about the map making process is that about 50% of the time, you're looking through the catalog through Stamps, and that takes up a huge amount of time. So if you start looking through the catalog first for everything that you want to place down, that means less time throughout the process of making the map will be dedicated through this endless scroll of going through the catalog. That's why it's important to do a little bit of prep work first, especially since we're doing a time challenge with just 15 minutes. And what we'll do is I'll show you the process for the first 30 minutes, and then for the last 30 minutes or the last 15 minutes, I'll go ahead and make that forest roadmap. Okay, so we're going to want to choose a couple things here. Some obvious stuff is maybe I want to choose some wood stuff because it's in a forest, it's in a wood. So I'll go ahead and type in log, and there's a couple log options here. I like this burnt log right here. This one is quite nice. There's some options here as I'm scrolling through it. You'll notice that I'm using the Alt key here, and I'm using my mouse scroll wheel, and I'm scrolling through it. You'll see there's some nice stuff in here inside of these burnt logs options. So we're going to keep this. We're also going to favorite it. What I'll do is I'll delete all my favorites. I forgot to do that before in the pre-work. So we'll go ahead and delete those. And then what we'll do, I should just press enter. I think it should work. There we go. Great. Enter, enter. There we go. Okay. So now I have this. I'm going to go ahead and favorite that so I can just keep it right away. I'll go back into the catalog. A couple important things would be maybe these logs right here, so that maybe I have something for like a camp scene, or I just want to have some logs lying around. I think having little things like this are helpful for your players to interact with. Maybe they want to trip an enemy combatant over the log. Maybe they want to pick it up and chuck it at their head. Maybe there's a bigger one and the barbarian picks it up and decides to ram 3 bad guys with it or beat them to a bloody pulp with it. So always having some objects on the ground that your players can interact with is going to be super important. So I'll go ahead and take this and I'll favorite this as well, just right away. Go up here, favorite that. That's good. Let's also grab some stumps, because we're in a forest, and what we want to do is we want to have some foliage of the trees showing, and then maybe the shadows of foliage and then the stump below it, so that way players can still go underneath trees and see the ground beneath it, and the foliage from a tree is not getting in the way. So let's go ahead and choose this stump here. We'll favorite that one. I mentioned something about a camp, so why don't we just type in camp, and a bunch of camp associated stamps should pop up. Let's go ahead and use this one right here. We got this nice camp right here. Let's go ahead and add that to my favorites. Okay, let's keep adding some more stuff to it. Let's see here. Let's add in, we could make a small campground. We could make, let's go with these bed rolls. I think that looks good. So let's go ahead and favorite that. Let's maybe some details like this water skin right here is a good idea. So let's go ahead and favorite that one. Let's also go ahead and favorite maybe this rolled up bed. That's a good one. Let's see here. What other things are in camp that look good? Oh, let's grab one of these backpacks. I think that's a good idea. We'll favorite that one as well. And then some other things that we might want to add are bushes and things like that. So let's add in a bush. We'll add in a couple of them. I kind of like, let's see here. This one right here has some flowers in it. That looks good. Let's add that. And then since we have that, let's also add the other variation without flowers. And then also I see some ferns right here, and I see some of this forest plants. I think that looks good. We can also favorite that one. And then let's also favorite the fern as well. We'll favorite that. So we have a nice assortment of favorites lined up right here. So that's good. And we want to do the same thing with our texturing. We might want to add in a couple textures that are going to be important. So something really important I want to mention about textures is that alpha textures are going to be your ally when it comes to a short period of time. And the reason why I recommend this is because alphas can blend with textures beneath them. Textures that don't support alpha are just a flat texture. They're going to stack on top of each other, and you have to do a serious amount of brush strokes to get them to blend correctly. But with an alpha texture, and alpha means supporting transparency, that means that it's less texturing work for you. So you definitely want to add a lot of alpha textures or alpha textures to your list. So if I go in here and I type in a couple things like dry grass, right here, you'll see this works great when you're trying to show maybe some movement on the ground, some artifacts. So we'll make sure to favorite that one. A couple other good things to do are like twigs and and stone right here. This is called twigs and stones. Let's go ahead and turn on show names so that you can see them. Twigs and stones. This is another great one. So we'll go ahead and favorite that one. Let's do that. Let's also add in moss. There should be a couple. There's this moss alpha here, and there's some moss alphas here. Let's maybe choose both just in case they both work out well. Another one right here, add moss. We'll favorite it. Okay, cool. That looks good. All right, and you know what? Let's also add in one more stamp from a different style, actually. We'll go to watercolor cities, and there's this nice stamps. I think they're called tracks. Let me see if I can find them. There they are right here, these cart tracks. Now, they're particularly small because they're in the fantasy, or they're in the watercolor city style. So they're kind of small. You can make your own one of these, by the way, by using two blurred paths. Just use the same texture. Why don't we just prep that? Because using this, it gets really kind of blurry when I put the scale up. So that doesn't really work that well. So let's prep a line. Let's do that. So what I'll do first is a couple options here. I probably want to choose a color, or I can choose, yeah, I think we're going to choose a color here. We'll choose this one. Oopsie, my mistake. We'll go in here. Let's choose more of a kind of darker brown color here. I'm going to go straight like this. Copy, paste it. Let's go ahead and bring the stroke size way up. Let's blur it. There we go. Bring that blur way, way up. There we go. Now I'm going to copy and paste that one, put it up here. Oopsie, my bad. This one here, check this out. Let's go with a lighter color. Let's try that. Let's turn off this, and let's just kind of place it right next to each other. And you kind of get the general idea of what the point of this is, that you're creating two sides of the rut, right? One side of the rut where the shadow is, and the other side of the rut that's being having light attached to it. So when you're kind of putting these together, you're trying to create these ruts. Now, I think the blur is a little too high, and we might want to bring the stroke size down just a little bit. There we go. That's a little better. There we go. I think that looks a little better. There we go. So let's go ahead and favorite both of these. We'll go ahead and remove my older ones here. Remove. We'll delete that. And then let's go ahead and favorite that one. And let's favorite that one. There we go. We'll go ahead and delete these. Now we have that favorited. So let's quickly go over everything that we have here. We've got our grass right here in our favorites. That's good. We've got all our favorites set up here for what we're going to place on the map here. We also have our line tool. With this is going to represent our ruts. So we're going to have all this stuff. So it looks like most of the stuff is prepped. I think there's one more thing that we're missing in that list, and I do believe it's going to be the tops of the trees. So let's type in tree, and we're going to use pine trees or some kind of coniferous or deciduous. Actually, I think, is that deciduous? Yeah, we'll use these ones. Sorry about that. We'll add that on there. Let's also just scale it down a little bit, bring it back to 100%. We'll scale it later, and then we'll also favorite that. And I think that should do it for that. So now I'm going to go ahead and put it together. I'm going to explain how I go through the process. And then when we're done with that, we'll do the 15-minute time challenge, okay? So let's go ahead and start first with what you want to do is you want to use the shape tool, and you want to use that grass that you just favorited. And we're going to go across, we're going to snap grid, and we're going to go all the way across with having some of the grass line being outside of the canvas, okay? So that way you don't see the edge of the grass on that side, right? So we put it back together like this. So that's the first step. Let's go ahead and put this down to layer -5. This is going to be the very lowest layer. So we'll do that there. And then what we'll do now is we're going to choose which way the road goes. So we'll go back to the line tool here, or the shape tool. And I'm going to teach you some options that you have with doing this. You're going to use the brush. You're going to choose subtract. Okay. Now, if you're kind of wondering, how should my road work? Should it go from top to bottom like that? Should it go to the side like this? Should it go more like this and then loop down? And you know what? This is when I think about this question, it's about what your players are going to be encountering, right? If your players are on a road and they're going to venture off the road and then maybe bump into like a bandit's hideout, then maybe going this way would be the better choice, because then you have all this space on the side here. Let's go ahead and choose, we'll go back to recently used here. This one here, we'll use this to kind of mark my thing here. And so right here, you'll have this extra space right here, let's turn that blur off, you'll have this extra space on the side, right? Now, if it's just traveling on the road with just some little forest bits on the side, because most of the combat is going to take place on the road itself, then guess what? You don't need to go ahead and undo this real quick. You don't actually need to have the road be going that way, right? So when it comes to road orientation, it's about what's going on in the map, right? What kind of encounter it is. So when I'm using the subtract mode, what I want to do is I want to scale it to where it's about 3 by 3 tiles. So that means that the road's going to be about 15 feet across, no matter which direction I go in, right? When I start subtracting, it's always going to be about 15 feet wide, and I can always make certain segments of the road wider or thinner, okay? So I'll go across like this, and what I'll do is I'm not going to make a straight line going across. What's best is to actually add a little bit of a curve, because that way you're kind of breaking up the straight line. So if I go like this and then add a little bit of a curve right here, then you have this nice curve. And what you're going to notice right away is that you'll see some of the grass line over here. That's not a problem. You'll go back over here. You're going to go ahead and choose this little option right here called portals right here, and just go ahead and select it, and then you'll go ahead and delete that portion of the grass on that side using a portal. There we go. We'll go ahead and move this down one. There we go. We'll push it up. Let's go up one. Let's see here. Ooh, I see that something's trying to go away here. There we go. All right. Oops. Let's go down a little bit more. Oop, I'm not sure what that is about right there. Might have to put another one down real quick. Let's put one right there. There we go. Okay. And oopsie. Did my grass go away here? What happened to my grass line? Oh no, that's very bizarre. My grass line just disappeared. So what we can do here, if you encounter an error like this, my recommendation is just to go up to that hamburger menu and go to recovery. I'm going to start my recovery process right here. Oop, it doesn't look like it saved the grass. Okay, let's go ahead and undo it. Here, I think what I might have done is accidentally deleted some of the grass section there. Let's go over here real quick. There we go. There's the culprit. We'll go ahead and fix that nice and easy. Let's go back over here to add. We'll go over here. Perfect. We'll go to subtract. I'm just going to go ahead and remove that segment. And just to be safe, I'll do the other side too, which I think it already is. Yeah, we'll go ahead and remove that. No, it's okay. There we go. My mistake. There we go. Super easy stuff. Now, snapping to grid can make things kind of difficult, but so that's that first part, is just kind of getting the road and getting the grass part. And then I might want to add in some things that are going off the road, like maybe a little campsite, or maybe there's a little ruin, or maybe there's like a fallen statue or whatever it might be, or maybe there's something like a broken altar or whatever it might be. And so what I'll do there is I'll make sure to select that grass shape again, so that way it's going to select that, and in that way when you go to subtract, it will make sure to merge with those shapes. You go back to your brush here, and this time I'll scale it down to where it fits into 1 5 square foot part right here, so that way when I make a little path off road, it will still be 5 feet across. And then what I'll do is I'll choose a section in which I want to make a little path that leads off and then goes to like maybe a little campsite. And best places for that are areas where you have a lot of space, like right here there's a lot of space, and right here there's a lot of space. So why don't we go ahead and create a little route that kind of just branches off right here and then kind of creates this little campsite right there like that. Let's go ahead and just go right here and kind of make that curve a little bit, add a little bit more here like that. That looks better. And then this is too circular. Let's maybe break that up a little bit, break up some edges. There we go. That looks a little better. It looked a little unnatural that way. So now we have that space there. And then what I'll do next is I'll go ahead and take a step back and look at it. I think what I should do is just maybe add in, let's take a look, maybe add in some smaller little grass shapes, because right here you have this grass line right here, and it seems kind of flat. So a couple things that we can do to fix that is we can use these stamps right here. I'll go ahead and turn snap to grid off. So a cool little trick with the stamps like this one or this one is that if you go ahead and turn the shadow off, and if you go to the lighten blend mode, normal, go to lighten, and what you can do is you can place grass like this, and then you can kind of create this nice little bundle, pieces of grass that kind of overlap like this, and you're using the light and blend mode, and this will kind of give it a little bit more character, a little bit more shape, and it should break up that super straight line or that line that you kind of see from the grass. So this kind of breaks that up a little bit. We'll make some smaller ones as well. Over here, that looks good. And we'll actually turn the grid opacity down a little bit. There we go. Just enough to where I can kind of see it, but not too much. There we go. And then I'll go ahead and place some of my textures in there. Let's go ahead and put in a camp. I'll go ahead and put the campfire maybe like right here, right in that space. And then maybe I'll put some logs. Let's go ahead and bring the scale down. I'll bring the brightness down to make them a little bit darker. Like this. Let's go ahead and add some space. Let's go put another log right here like that. And then we'll go ahead and put maybe the camp like this. It's about 7 feet or so. We can go ahead and put it maybe just leaning right against here like that. Or you can put it up against here like this. There's a nice space right there. We can do that. And then we can go ahead and throw in some stuff like, let's put in that camp bag. Got some space right here. Let's put it there. And then we'll put maybe this rolled up bag can be put over here somewhere up against this. Or you can put it leaning up against here like this. Maybe it's drying off. And then let's go ahead and put that water skin just right there on top of that right there. There we go. That looks good. So we have that camp area set up. Let's go ahead and add in a couple more things here. One thing we might want to consider is if maybe this is a bandits camp right here. So maybe we want to create like a block in the road right here. And so a cart has to stop. And then the bandits at this camp can come in and then attack those who try to get through here. So we'll go ahead and throw that. I'm going to change that hue to get rid of that reddish color and give it more of a brownish color by just moving it to the right around hue 15, and that way it's brown instead of red. That's helpful. So that's good. And then we're also going to want to maybe throw in, let's see here. You know what? I actually missed a stamp. Let's go back to Stump. Let's add this one right here. This is a good one. Let's add these, and I'll go ahead and favorite that real quick. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put some trees around the edges, and then I'll have some stumps be showing the tree shadow, and in that way your players can kind of interact a little bit. So what I'll do first is let's go ahead and add in probably these trees right here. I'm going to put them in the corners because this is going to be a lot of the spots where your players are not going to be interacting. A lot of the combat's going to take place in this central area right here. So it's okay to kind of cover up your corners a little bit. And that way you can start framing it in, because what defines a forest, right, is having lots of trees. And so you want the trees to kind of frame this nice clearing, what's called a clearing, and it's an opening in the forest. And what that is it's a good location for combat to take place. So that's a good one. Let's also put one like maybe like right here like this, just kind of blocking. And then we'll put one like over here, kind of blocking the view of the camp, so that way when people are on the cart and they're kind of coming towards here, they can't see the bandits right here because the trees are getting in the way. And so that will act as kind of a cover for the bandits. So that looks good. Where are we at for time? Sweet. Tons and tons of time. Let's go ahead now and throw in a couple stumps, because we want to have trees maybe in this clearing area, like single ones, but we don't want to hide. We don't want to have the foliage hiding the walking space. So let's maybe throw in one stump there. Let's throw in another stump right here. Let's maybe throw in a larger one like right here, and then maybe throw in a cluster of them, because it's always good to throw in multiple at a time. That looks good. And then we'll take that same tree stamp, go up to layer 5. We'll make it a little bit bigger. We're going to turn the shadow off, bring the brightness all the way down, and then bring the opacity down to about 20, between 20 and 30 is good. And then you're going to go ahead and size it to what size you want the tree to be, and just put it right on top, just like that. And now you have the tree without, you have the foliage of the trees without trying to hide any of the ground space in which your players are going to be walking around. I find that to be particularly helpful. So that's going to be good. Let's go ahead and throw that there. Let's also maybe put some, maybe we could see some of the trunks of the trees kind of underneath some of these. So I'll go ahead and select all of these in the set, and I'll bring them all the way up, because some of them are not all the way in the highest layer. Some of them are, there we go, higher up layer. That looks great. And then we'll go ahead and take these stumps and put them down a layer. And then if you put them just underneath the tree, but you hide that opening in the trunk, you'll have some nice trunks, some nice roots kind of coming out like this. That looks good. Let's throw in a big one right here in this corner like that. There we go. So now you have a little bit of some of the foliage and as well as the stumps of the trees underneath kind of sticking out a little bit. So that looks good. We'll do that. Let's go ahead and add in some details to wherever you kind of see some trees right here. What we should do is throw in this twigs and stones. And so I'll go ahead and set to BG layer or the FG layer, because remember, this grass section right here is set to the FG on a clipping mask. So if I just place some of these nice right where the trees are, where the stumps are, this kind of represents what parts of the tree are falling down, right? Like trees, there's erosion, wind elements knock stuff down. So you're going to expect to see some tree falling on the ground, right? And also it blends in, it creates a transition between that brown stump right there and this green grass, right? So it kind of adds into a color scheme. It's also good to add a little bit to the road as well, especially where there's a tree. Like there's some here on the road, as you would kind of expect. Maybe some right here, as you would kind of expect. Just like that. We're at 209 changes. Let's quickly save it. And we have about another 15 minutes or so. We'll finish adding the rest of the details, and then we'll do that 15-minute challenge. So as you can see, it really doesn't take too long to start putting the map together when you've already got the stuff that you're going to be putting on it already assembled in pre-planning, right? That's what is the kind of trick. It doesn't take a whole lot of time to make a decent map. It just means that you can make a fairly decent map with just a short period of time. It just requires some pre-planning there. So I think that looks good. We can turn the grid off now. I don't think that's necessary. What we should do is go ahead and add in some of our road ruts. And the way to do this, to make sure that I get that looking right, is what I'll do is I'll type in cart, and then I can kind of pick a cart of my choice from the style. And that way I can kind of pick the scale, make sure that it's right. I've already got stamps here with me, so that's about 6 feet wide there. Let's make it about that scale right about there, and then I can set that up. And so now that I have that there, I can now start placing down some of the ruts. And so what I'll do is I'll choose, maybe, it doesn't really matter which one you choose, the light or the dark. It doesn't really matter. And then I'll go ahead and choose free draw. Now I am using a pen, but you can also use a mouse. Both work. And I'll start off screen, and I'll go ahead and just create that first part right there like that. Now that's a bit on the thick side, so I'll go ahead and bring down the stroke size like that. And what I can do is I'll copy and paste that same one and then switch it to the lighter version one, and I'll just go ahead and place it right up against like that. And what I should also do is maybe change the blend mode. So maybe I want to only select those lines. I'll go ahead and select line right here, select them both, and let's choose a blend mode that will blend underneath of it. You can always use overlay, color dodge. There's difference. Let's just go through the different variations, and we can see which one kind of works kind of best here. That's just way too bright. That's soft light. No difference. Nope, doesn't look good. Maybe a you know what? I kind of like the luminosity blend mode. That looks good. And then let's maybe bring the opacity down just a little bit. And then I can select those two again, copy, paste, and then just place them right underneath where the cart wheels are. And then I have my tread right there. And you don't have to leave that cart there. You can remove the cart if you want, but now you have some tread there on the ground. Remember, you want to use two lines, right? One that's going to have the shadow, one that's going to have the light, right? And now that's how you easily make tread there on that. So it's not complex, pretty easy stuff. All right, so I think the last bits we can do here is we can add some light and shadow. We can add some filters. That will always be nice. So let's go ahead into the catalog and we'll type in light. Let's go ahead. We're going to stack our lights. Let's maybe put one light source just right on top, right there on top of the fire itself. We'll take a larger one. We'll bring the opacity down just a little bit, and then I'll go ahead and place it right there. Now I have some light right there. And you know what's also helpful is notice those clearing where you see where the light, where the shadow isn't existing. If you take that light source and copy and paste it, and then bring the opacity down a little bit. Take that light source and put it in the openings where there's no shadow, like right here, right there. And it kind of makes sense. What that kind of does is it adds a little bit more light to it, as you would kind of expect. There we go. So now you have some light, no shadows there. That works out rather well. Okay, that looks good. I'm just taking a step back and looking at everything, make sure everything looks good. Okay, that looks good. Let's go ahead and add in a little bit of shadow work. We don't have to add in too much, just a little bit, because we actually have time. Let's go ahead and add shadows to these stumps right here. What I'll first do is just put them, center the shadow a little bit. There we go, bring the shadow that way. Now I'm going to select each one individually and make the shadow cast away from the light source. Moving horizontal offset, same thing with this one. I'm going to have to change the horizontal offset as well as the vertical offset. There we go. And now I have some shadows emanating away from that light. And the reason why the shadows are so dark is because it's just so close to that light source. In fact, I'll turn off the shadows for this one. There we go. And so now you have some nice shadows there. We have some stumps right here. That looks good. All right, let's go ahead and add in a couple more alpha textures. You'll notice that the ground still looks a little kind of flat. You should add a little bit more details to it. So we'll go back to my favorites here, and you have this dry grass. This stuff works great. We should bring the brush size down. We'll bring the opacity down a little bit, and we want to do some adjustments. So we'll go to placement, adjust the scale. There we go. That looks good. And then what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and bring the opacity down to around 48. Make sure it's set to BG layer, and I'm just going to add some dry grass into here like this, and this should kind of break up and add a little bit more to it like this. And in fact, I'll even add a little bit to the FG layer, like right here in this section where it's kind of open here. There we go. And then I'll go ahead and add in my last bit of details before we move on. Let's go ahead and add in some of the bushes. So we'll go ahead and just get the scale right here. Let's go ahead and add a bush. And what's nice is I'm going to place it right in between where the shadows are and the light is, so that way you can get some interaction between the shadows and stamps. So I want that one there. Let's maybe put a different one, like maybe like right here like that. Let's maybe put another one over here in this corner. Let's put another one like maybe over here. That looks good. And then we'll bring the scale down and put another one right there. Another one right there. Let's add in a couple more here. Let's put one there. Here. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and do the same. We'll add in some with a little bit of flowers to it. So we'll add one here. Put one off screen a little bit. Off screen here. Let's bring the scale up a little bit. Let's have it overlap under the road a little bit. And then some in the shadow, some not. And then another one right there. Let's go ahead and take a step back and look at it. There we go. Everything's kind of coming together. We have our road that goes from here to there. We've got a little section right here. What we could also do is maybe add in a little bit of mossy stone underneath where the camp area is. We could do that. Let's go ahead and change the texture scale. Okay, and then what I'll do is set to BG layer. Got my opacity down. Let's go with about 37 should be fine. And I'll put a little bit of mossy stone like right here by the campfire area, so that way there's some stone underneath the campfire, but I won't put the stone underneath where the the sleeping bag or that bag is right there, so that way they're not sleeping on this hard stone floor. It's only where the camp is. There we go. That looks good. All right, let's go ahead and quickly add filters, and then we can go ahead and do the process. So a couple things that you can do. First, always a good one is red sky, especially when you have browns, reds in the map. That really helps to bring out those reds a lot. So if I bring red sky up a little bit, you'll notice that the browns and the red of the ground starts to pop up a little bit. That's always a nice filter to add. Another great thing to do is to show a vignette, because much of the floor is not much of the corners are not being used. We can add some extra shadow to those trees by bringing it all the way down. Oopsie, not layer, not that one, vignette. Let's bring the opacity all the way up, and then we'll go ahead and bring this all the way down to layer -5. See what happens when I turn the vignette off? It adds a little bit of extra shadow underneath, and it helps to make those trees kind of pop out a little bit more. So that always works good. Another thing to add is add in a spotlight, so that way we can kind of highlight the center of the map with a little bit of light right here. So adding the highlight. Let me turn the shadows, the filters off so you can see what it looks like without. See the difference? You see what filters did? They added quite a bit to the map. So we'll quickly save it. And then we'll go ahead, and where are we at for time? We got 10 minutes left. There's still so much more that we could really add to this. And that was, so what I'll quickly do is we'll add in a couple more details. I'll go ahead and check out what I added down here. You know what's a good one to add in? Vines. Let's go ahead and add in some vines. And what we'll do is we'll add in these ones right here, these grasping vines. And I'll go ahead and place these just right underneath, right where you see kind of a tree. That's a good place to kind of put them. So I'll put some like right there, underneath there. Let's put in another one like maybe right there. And in fact, I don't really care much for the yellowish kind of color. I might just select all of them. So select one, go select all from the set, go to hue, and I can kind of change to this kind of green color. And what I'll do is I'll bring the brightness down a little bit. There we go. And now I have these nice vines kind of coming out. That's kind of helpful. We'll put another one like maybe like right there. There we go. Another thing that your players can kind of interact with. Maybe the vines are alive. Maybe a spell was cast on the vines and it kind of traps people. So another thing that you can kind of interact with. Okay, I think that's about good. You could throw in a couple things like right here. There's this open space right here, and a couple nice things that you can add is like you can add in a broken cart. A road sign is good. Now that might take a little bit more time because there isn't a sign, and you'll have to put that together yourself. So that might not work. I'm not sure. But what a good thing to add is like a broken cart right here. This is something that your players can interact with, right? It's a great place for combat. Like let's say, for instance, that the bandits jump over, they go to attack you, and you kind of bob and weave through these trees right here, your players, and they come over to here, and they can kind of interact with this. The barbarian can pick it up, bash someone to death with it, pick up a wheel, toss it, beat them over the head with it. You can, maybe there's enemy fire from arrows or spells. You can hide behind the cart. All these kind of fun things that you can do when you're kind of putting that together. Another thing that we might want to consider doing is adding in some darker dirt to interact, because what you're seeing right here is this cart is really light and the ground beneath it is light. So if I just take that same grass texture, go back to color and just bring the brightness down, I can kind of create this kind of patchwork of dirt. And if I go underneath like this, I can get this nice dirt texture underneath that's kind of going to interact a little bit. And so now I kind of have this illusion of movement around it, like there's some dirt and stuff, because when you're running around, you're kind of kicking up dirt and you're kind of pulling out grass and things like that. And so to show that action, there's some action around that cart, you can put that dark dirt. And in fact, we can do the same thing right here. We'll go to BG, just add a little bit of darker dirt just right in here. And in fact, we'll do a little bit over here as well, just to kind of break it up a little bit. There we go. That kind of adding a little bit more texture, a little bit more character to the map. There we go. Okay. I think this looks good. We've added in a lot of important things. Your players can interact with things. They can hide behind things. They'll be able to interact. They'll be able to go over to this campsite over here, deal with the bandits or bandit, whatever it might be. So there's a lot that you can kind of do in that short period. So what I'll do is I'll save it, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a clone of this map, and I'm going to delete everything on it. Everything should be in my favorites, and then I'll make this map, and I bet you we'll probably be able to make it in again, or a different version of it, in less than 15 minutes, because I saw myself going through the catalog looking for new stamps and doing things like that. So it's amazing what you can do with just a little bit of pre-planning. And the reason why it's important to do the pre-planning is sometimes I notice myself searching through the catalog in the middle of making a map, and it can be frustrating because Inkarnate has a lot of stamps, and sometimes you just don't know what you're looking for, and sometimes that can kind of put you off. And so one thing that I've kind of noticed is if you do a lot of the pre-planning ahead of time, the map process speeds up exponentially, because a lot of the time is dedicated to going through an extensive catalog, looking for stamps. If you start from the beginning looking for the stamps, that will save you so much time in your map making process. So this is super, super important to remember. So what I'll do now, I'm going to go over to here. I'm going to go into the hamburger menu, and I'm going to go save as a clone. I'm going to call it Forest Road 2, like this. And what it's going to do is it's going to save this as a clone. What we're going right there. It's not that it's sorted differently from mine. It's just that I also have like an admin account on mine, so things might look a little different because of that. Just to let you know, my account is a little bit different. I think this is an EA account, so you probably will see things differently. Sorry, this is not an admin account. This is an EA account. You'll probably see things a little differently, just to let you know. Okay, so from there, what I can do now is just delete every single thing. And what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead into the catalog here, and I'm going to reset the FG and BG layer. FG layer, fill, then go to background layer. I'm going to choose dirt, fill, there we go. Okay, I'm going to quickly just save this, and then I'll go ahead and I'm going to set a timer on my phone, so just give me a moment while I set that up. Okay, thanks for waiting with me here. Cool. Okay, there's my clock and my timer. 15 minutes. All right, here we go. Sweet. Oops. Ooh, one thing I noticed is that I had the opacity set really low. Thank you, by the way, Typher0. Appreciate you doing that. Phil, there we go. Good catch. Good catch. Appreciate you. There we go. Foreground fill. And you know what? I'm just going to keep the filters on. I think that's okay. It shouldn't affect it too much. Where are we at for time here? 41. Perfect. Okay, here we go, folks. Let's get cracking. Let me make sure that all the stamps that I used were added to my favorites here. Like that broken one was used. Did I add vines? Nope, I don't think I did. Vines, let's favorite that one. Sweet. Cool. Oh, yeah, let's also favorite lights so that way that's available. Cool. Make sure that I have everything. I still have this favorited. Cool. All right. I think that looks good. All right. Let me go ahead and turn my timer back on and get this started here. I bet you it's going to take us probably just 10 minutes. All right, here we go. So again, remember, you're kind of starting out, have that grid set up, go to Shape Tool, and we'll go ahead here. We're going to go make sure Snap to Grid is set on. Oopsie, I'm set to Subtract. Let's go to Add. There we go. I have that set up. That's great. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and create the road part, right? We'll go over to Brush, Subtract. Remember, you're going to make it big enough so it's about 13 feet, though you can make it as wide as you want. We'll do something a little bit different this time. We'll go ahead and have the road kind of maybe bend this way a little bit. In fact, that seems a little off. Let's maybe have a nice curve like that. There we go. I like that nice curve. And what I'll do is, just to avoid dealing with erasing or putting the portals on the edge of that grass, I'll just go ahead and just resize it, and that way it's just all off screen. From there, I can go ahead and choose maybe where I want my campsite to be. And in fact, what I'll do here is I'll do something a little bit different. I'll go ahead and create two different paths that lead to the campsite, so that should make it more interesting. So I'll put the campsite like right here, like this, and then I'll have one path leading to the campsite, and then another path leading to the campsite, like that. So that way there's two routes leading to the campsite. That works out great. Let's go ahead and add in, just go ahead and break up, cancel. Let's go ahead and break this up a little bit by adding in some grass stuff. I'll go ahead and turn Snap to Grid off. Just go ahead and just throw that in, just kind of break it up a little bit. And these corners looks good. Around here looks good. There we go. Add in these. Let's go ahead and make the scale a little bit smaller. There we go. Add some here, 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 here. That looks good. Awesome. All right. Let's go ahead and add in the camp stuff. Not the right size. Right about there looks good. We'll go ahead and throw in, make sure this looks good. It's about 10 feet. That's pretty big. We don't need it that big. We'll add that in there. Let's go ahead and add in our little details, of course. Let's go ahead and throw in our logs. People can sit down. One there. One there. That looks good. Nice little campsite there. Looks good. Okay. Let's go ahead and frame our corners here. Bring it all the way up. There we go. Here, here. Let's go just make, I don't want to block too much of the road, so I'll put them there. Let's put one here, here, and then this corner should be good. Let's put one right along there. Here looks good. There looks good. Let's have one that kind of just goes a little bit, goes over the road a little bit, just to kind of create a nice little effect there. This one right here to make sure it doesn't cover too much of the road. That looks good. And then I'll go ahead and throw in, let's go ahead and select all these trees real quick, and we'll add a shadow to it. Okay, let's see here. Advanced setting. Oopsie, my mistake. What happened to my shadow? There we go. Custom object shadow. There we go. That way we can kind of get some shadow here. There we go. Intensity. That looks good. Let's go ahead and throw in those stumps. Let's put one here. Let's put a couple stumps right along this path here that kind of hides. It kind of adds a little bit of privacy to the campsite by putting some stumps along here. Put a couple there, and then maybe one. This corner right here looks good. And then I'll go ahead and do that one trick. Remember, I'll go ahead and bring this all the way up to layer 5. Bring the brightness down. Bring the opacity down. There we go. I think I had it about 30. That looks good. And I'll just go ahead and place one big one on top here. Let's put another one like right there, here, 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 and then a smaller one like right here, like that. Okay, that is good. There we go. So now you have some shadows going on there. Let's remove a couple of these. There's too many. One there. Let's move this one over to here. Excuse me, over to here like that maybe. Okay, that's good. Let's go ahead and use that log. Instead of having it block the road, even though you could add a road block, we could put it right here. Maybe it fell down. Like we want to show that like it fell down, so we can go like this. Make it look like it fell down right there. And one thing I kind of noticed is that stump looks like it was flat cut. Why don't we fix that a little bit? We go to rubble, and I do believe there should be some splinter stuff. Like right here. This might work good. We could kind of place it like right here like that, and right there like that. There we go. And that should kind of give it a little more splintered look. And of course, we'll add in those details. Remember that sticks and stuff. We'll go and put that wherever you see grass, stumps, trees. That's where you're going to put that. Let's go ahead and turn that grid off. We don't really need that anymore. There we go. Add in those. Don't forget to put them on the road as well, especially where there's a tree, like right over here, here. Right here looks good. That looks good. We'll put it right over here along this thing. That looks good. Okay. And then let's go ahead. Where are we at for time here? 9:50. Sweet. Tons of time. Let's go ahead and put those stumps sticking out underneath like we did before. Remember that? So put that underneath. Let's have one kind of sticking out on the road a little bit. One here. That looks good. Well, that's a little too much because it's kind of covering the road. Let's go ahead and grab a big one. Put that in that corner like that. Make sure you kind of hide the hollow part of the stump. Remember that. Now let's go. We can have this one kind of be off the on the road a little bit. That's fine. And then this smaller one right there like that should be okay. Let's make it a little bit smaller. That way it's not covering too much of the road there. There we go. So I have that stump covering that. That looks good. That looks good. Okay, we'll go ahead and add in our light source. Oh, actually, let's go add in our vines. Oops, I keep accidentally hitting the X. Let's go down another layer. There we go. Add in these kind of dark vines. In fact, I just want to use this one, so I'll turn random, rotate and random stamp off. There we go. Now I can kind of use this without it kind of getting in the way. There we go. Let's go put some smaller ones like over here like this. Let's go like that. And we'll add in a smaller one right there like that. Let's switch that around. Let's say right about there. There we go. That looks good. So we have all that kind of set up. Let's go ahead and add our light source. All the way up to layer +5. Put the light right on top. Bring the scale up or get a bigger one. Bring the opacity down. Place it right on top. And then we'll do those shadows like we said before. Let's go ahead and change up this a little bit. Let's go move it that way. Bring the blur up. Bring the intensity down. There you go. That looks good. And then we'll put another one right here. Bring the blur up. And then we'll go up this way a little bit to the light and bring the intensity down a little bit. There we go. And so you have some shadows there. That looks good. All right. Let's go ahead and kind of look at what else we have here. That looks good. That looks good. Let's go ahead and throw in those road sections. Remember those ruts in the road? So we'll go ahead and take a line, and we're, oh, you know what I forgot to do is add in a cart, because I need to know what the cart lengths are. So let's go ahead. Oops, I kind of noticed that I don't have, only have the broken one. So we'll do the regular one. Cart, about that looks good. There we go. Okay, and then I can go in and then add in my lines here. We'll go off route, go across like this. There we go. Step one, we're going to copy and paste that and choose the darker one, and then place that right along here like that. And in fact, I'll go ahead and just so I can only select those lines, I have those two. Let's go ahead and move it over a little bit more this way. We'll copy and paste it, do it again, and then move it right over here along there like that. Okay, one moment here. Let's go ahead and get the cart right. That looks about right. We'll move the cart over to here. That looks good. And if you want, we can throw in a broken cart in this corner, just right over here like this, like maybe the bandit or whatever stole the cart, broke it up, and then kind of uses it to store maybe stuff, like you could put some chests or whatever in there. That looks good. All right, and then let's go ahead and add in our dry grass bits. So we'll go ahead and start with a lighter color. We'll go on the BG layer and just go ahead and throw in some of this lighter color inside of there. Then we'll go ahead and I think it's in recently used. There should be a darker variant right there. Let's go ahead and add that. We'll go ahead and add that darker variant in here, along here, kind of break that up. There we go. That looks good. Okay, we're going to add another filter in here real quick. We're going to add clarity. There we go. That looks good. I'll show you what it looks like without clarity. When I add a little bit of clarity to it, it kind of helps to make things pop out a little bit more. Something I noticed about the lines is that they are a little off a little bit. So I'm going to select them both. Just going to bring the opacity down a little bit more. There we go. That's a little bit better. Much better. Okay. We're at 5 minutes and 26 seconds, and we can still add so many more details. Right now I'm going to have to go through the catalog and look for some more things, but that only took about under 10 minutes, really. So we should just keep going, and we'll see how much we can accomplish. So let's go ahead and add in a pop of contrast to things. So for instance, you'll notice that we have these nice trees up here. Let's maybe add in a pop of color, like maybe these trees have a little bit of color to it, so we'll add a little bit of blue. So I'll go ahead and throw in a couple big ones here and there. I'm going to put these up in the trees. And what this will add a pop of color to it. That looks nice. We'll add a pop of color here, and then I'll make a smaller variation of it. Remember, one of the big tricks with creating a more natural looking environment is a variation in size and different types of plants. That's kind of how you kind of create a more realistic looking environment. So we'll throw in these flowers here like this. And so now we have this nice kind of flowers on the top, and they're nice and bright. And so they contrast against the darkness of that green of the tree there. So they pop out and they look nice, add a little extra element to it. Some other things we can do is things on trees fall down, right? So we could always take that recently used flower and then put some on the ground, just make them a little bit smaller and darker, so that way it looks like they're on the ground and they're not at the same height as the stuff on top. So I'll go ahead and place, oops, it's a little too dark. Let's go about, that looks about the right brightness. So I'll go ahead and place these, place a couple on the ground here, maybe even put a couple in there, here on the ground. Let's add a couple over here on the road here. Let's put a cluster of them. Let's put a couple more on the road in the path here. And then we'll go ahead and take that greenish, that kind of stone texture. We'll put that over by the campfire again. Like this. Oops, that makes sure set the BG. I am great. There we go. We have a little bit of stone right there where the campfire is. There we go. And so we kind of have these things kind of set up and put together. We'll go ahead and save it. 355 changes. That's going to take up a little bit of my time, but we can add a little bit more color to it because we're just moving along so quickly. And so you see, the trick really is to pre-decide your stamps, your lines, your shapes, your textures first. And that way you're not spending half of your time during the map making process going through the catalog. So this is really a really good trick to speed up your map making process. Start with getting the stamps that you need first, favoriting them. That way you don't have to go through recently used, and maybe it got knocked out of recently used because you put added a whole bunch of other stamps and you didn't favorite them, and so they knocked out a stamp from the recently used. So you have to really do the pre-planning first, and then that way when you are putting the map together, you're not getting discouraged by all this mouse scrolling and all that stuff that tends to happen. Let's go ahead and throw in some red flowers on the vines like this, just to add in a little bit more pop of color. I think just to add another pop of color. Red is always a good color, so I'll just kind of throw these like on the vines here. And then when I take a step back, you'll see how that red really, really pops out. And I think that just looks nice. Add a little bit of red flowers to it. Don't add too much. Don't want it to do too much, just a little bit. So now you have some red flowers there on there. So just keep adding more and more stuff there. Remember, we can also take light sources and put them wherever there's light. So in an opening, just remember to bring the opacity down. There's an opening. This already has a light source right here, but we'll go ahead and put one there anyway. I see some opening like right there. Another opening here, here. And if you want, you can even put it on top of the treetops. So if you go all the way up and just place it just right on top of the treetops, because you would expect the top of the trees to get the most sunlight, right? Because they're not being obstructed by anything, right? So adding a little bit of light sources just on top of the trees is a great way to show how tall the tree is, right? The more light, the taller it is, the more exposed, right? So other tricks that you can kind of do there. So a lot of cool little things that you can kind of do. If you don't like the arrangement, you can change things up. So there's a lot that you can really do in a short period of time. So we're slowly reaching, finally 30 seconds left. There was still so much I could have done without chatting, but you'll see what it does, right? You'll notice that pre-planning in advance really speeds up the map process. And as long as you kind of follow these simple guidelines, like making sure that it's a scale that is doable. Again, you're not going to make the entire Underwild probably in just 15 minutes, but you can make a section of the Underwild, right, in just 15 minutes or less. It's all about pre-planning, figuring out the stamps you're going to use, figuring out the shape and line tools, textures, all of those things. Pre-planning is really the trick to making a map much faster, because again, you're going to spend a lot of time just going through the catalog, because we do have an extensive catalog. There's a lot of stamps, and so that can be time consuming. Skip a lot of that pain in advance by just doing your pre-planning first with the stamps, and that way when you're going through, all it is just putting down stamps and texturing and putting things together, and that's less time that you're putting into the catalog. Because personally, I can get off-put when I can't find a stamp that I'm looking for, and it gets frustrating. And I'm in the middle of something and I'm like, oh man, I'm really enjoying doing this, but I can't find this stamp. I can get put off. So doing that pre-planning is a great way to kind of avoid that as well. All right, well, I think that does it for doing this. We're probably going to have more timed challenges in future maps. I think this Friday is going to be a Fey Henge, and we'll do it in the same format. I'll show you how to make a Fey Henge in just 15 minutes or less. And so we'll probably just do this with every video, so that way you can see that you can make just about any map, any battle map, probably, as long as the scale is right, in about 15 minutes or so. Obviously, when it comes to like world maps, cities, things like that, that's a tight squeeze for 15 minutes, but maybe we can do videos on like how to make a city in 1 hour. And I think that's a little bit more realistic by just setting up some techniques and a process that makes it easier. Maybe like a world map in 1 hour, a city map in 1 hour, things like that we can consider. So let us know if that kind of interests you. All right, well, that's it. Thanks so much. I hope you figured out that it's actually not too hard and it doesn't take too long to make a battle map. It's just about a little bit of pre-planning. All right, everyone, thanks for watching. Please stay safe and healthy. Merry map making, and I'll see you all on Friday for our Fey Henge. All right, everyone, take care. Bye, everyone.